Hello, everyone. Welcome to Durrett's Take. Let's get started. So, week one of the NFL season was very fun, and even though there was a lot of blowouts, surprisingly, in week one, I still thought there was a lot of good and exciting football to watch. So, let's get started. As I do throughout the season, every week I go through my one phrase and then summary for each week one game. So let's start off with the Thursday night game between the Cowboys and the Buccaneers. Typical Cowboys. Cowboys were +3 in the turnover margin. Dak played as well as he could coming off, not only an ankle injury, but also, not be able to practice all preseason because of his shoulder. And yet the Cowboys still lose. I mean, it shows that's how good the Bucs are. But now the Cowboys defense, besides first turnovers, is looking like, unfortunately, they're under Dan Quinn. They still haven't improved that much. I mean, Micah Parsons has shown he's a very good player and all that, but as far as the unit goes, I mean, if they're not forcing turnovers, then they're a pretty bad team. They hardly even got to Tom Brady, so that's something they're gonna have to prove on throughout the season. But then also, their kicker Greg Zuerlein missed 2 field goals and an extra point. That has to be cleaned up in order for the Cowboys to win. He makes one of those kicks. We're having a different conversation right now. And once again, it looks like the Cowboys will have to win in shootouts in order to win games. And now to pile more bad news on top of that, Lyle Collins, the offensive guard for Cowboys, suspended for 5 games for PED stuff. And then wide receiver Michael Gallup is out for a couple weeks due to ankle issue. However, if you're a Cowboys fan like I am, this game was a moral victory for you because it showed that, hey, despite all that, you could hang with the defending champions at home. And remember that the division's not that good. Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to be at least 6 to 8 weeks. So, yeah, Heineke's a nice serviceable backup, but I mean, Washington might not be that good. Giants definitely don't look like they're not going to be that good. Philadelphia, while they beat Atlanta, we'll see how they do against other good teams. I wait and see approach on them. So, if you're the Cowboys, I mean, you're looking pretty good throughout the season so far as playoff chances go. Eagles versus Falcons. Fly, Eagles, fly. Eagles looked better than I thought they would because I thought that they're like the bottom 3 team basically in the league. Now, I still do think, despite this win, they're still a 4th place team in the division most likely, and it just looks like they're obviously a better 4th place team than Atlanta is, which is going to be 4th place in that division. So while it's a good start for Jalen Hurts and staking his claim that, yeah, I'm the franchise guy, I still need to see more from not only him, but also the team in general. And they got the 49ers coming this week, so that's a very good test to see, okay, now, against legit competition, now what do you do? As far as Atlanta goes, their offensive line, like I predicted, is still bad, and their defense is still horrible, which maybe is why the Eagles won. Now, with the offensive-minded head coach, that defense will be an Achilles heel all season. If I'm the Falcons in a tough division, I mean, you were at the number 4 pick this past year. I would go try for the number 1 or 2 pick this year and get yourself a quarterback of the future. No disrespect to Matt Ryan, but I feel like it's one of those things where you can just tell it just may be time for a new change of scenery, and then you can make sure your new franchise quarterback also is mobile, because while you take time to develop that offensive line, you're going to need a mobile QB for the future. Steelers versus Bills. Special teams for the win. In a defensive battle, both offenses struggling, you knew something had to be done that can help the game be decided. So the only reason why this game was not in overtime was because of that blocked punt for the Steelers resulting in a touchdown. I think both teams have rust they need to shake off, but both should be fine, in my opinion. Steelers needed this win more because I feel like they're not as better of a team as Buffalo is, and with the Ravens' injuries, and Steelers can maybe try to take their spot for a playoff berth. We'll see. So it's a good win for them. Vikings versus Bengals. Looks good. Burrow coming off his ACL injury. I was kind of interested to see how he looks, because some people coming off that type of injury might show a little bit of rust to kind of get back to where he was. But Joe Burrow looks pretty good. Played well, and Jamar Chase, the wide receiver, got drafted with the 5th pick overall. Despite having a bad preseason and training camp, he looked very good. And the Bengals surprisingly were able to contain Minnesota, at least for the first half. They were able to contain them pretty well. I mean, you expect Cook not to fumble the game away, in my opinion, but he should be better throughout the season. But if you're the Vikings, this was a very missed opportunity here. Bengals have a bad pass blocking online once again because they took Jamar Chase instead, like Panay Sewell, for example. And then the Bengals still have a bad defense. So this was the chance for Vikings to try to get a win here, despite it being on the road. So this is going to come back to haunt them, in my opinion. A lot of analysts were saying that they will be back to a playoff team. They're a 10-7, maybe 11-6 type of team this year. There's a reason why I had them basically doing the same exact thing as last year. The defense, and specifically the secondary, still sucks from last year. And then with Kirk Cousins, you're limited. And then especially if Cook has an off game, then you're going to be even more limited. But then also, as you can see with what Kevin Stefanski is doing in Cleveland, I feel like that's been a huge difference maker for Minnesota as far as why they haven't looked as good and as sharp as they did back when they were a playoff team and they upset the Saints in the wild card round type of thing. So it'll be interesting to see how they rebound, because since Chicago looks like they're Detroit and Green Bay so far looks then who knows, but not a good start. 49ers versus Lions, the new Cowboys, or new Lions 2.0. So the Lions in this game reminded me of the Cowboys last year. You got bad defense, they get down by a lot, and then a veteran QB and the offense just turns it around to make the final score look more respectable and gather a bunch of empty calorie yards. And that at least that's what a lot of analysts called it, to again make the score look respectable, all of that. But in a way, you could think about it, that's what Detroit Lions have been, for basically the whole time with Matt Stafford anyways. So you can say not much has changed. Again, the Lions won't win much. And even though I picked them to only get 2 wins, which might be a little bit low, I think they actually will be a little more tearing. Like, Dan Campbell has shown that they're at least going to fight until the end, which I do like that attitude. Cardinals versus Titans. Watching the Titanic. This is why I sold my stock on the Titans, unlike a couple of analysts, and then, NBA analyst Kendra Perkins, who say Titans are going to go to the Super Bowl. Yeah, right. Julia Jones, nice pickup, obviously, but again, like I've said before, the Titans just have too many problems. I doubt Derrick Henry performed that bad throughout the season like he did on Sunday. But still, the defense is still horrible from last year. And then that O-line is still horrible. And then also, losing offensive coordinator Smith to Atlanta, I feel like that's a huge key component here. So don't be surprised, in my opinion, if you see some of Miami Tannehill kind of pop up here. Again, they can win some games, and they're in one of the worst divisions in the league. But it's not. But like I said, this is the reason why I sold my stock on them. Also, I know Chandler Jones during fall camp requested a trade, but if you're Arizona after his 5-sack game there, you give this man what he wants, so he stays. Seahawks versus Colts. Welcome to the Lockett show. Lockett reminds us again and again, he is a very, underrated, explosive wide receiver. Now, he's not like Tyreek Hill, but he's one of those type of guys where, he can turn on the Jets, and get those big 50-yard type of passes and all that. He's a true deep threat. And I thought Wilson had a very efficient day against a very good Colts defense. So that was cool to see. We'll see if Lockett kind of emerges as the number one, even though they had Metcalf, obviously, or if that was just, game-by-game situation. As far as Carson Wentz goes, coming off an injury and being out the whole preseason, I thought he didn't do that bad per se against a good Seahawks defense and all that. Now, the one thing I will say that is still a concern for Wentz is that he still took a lot of sacks, so that has to be cleaned up. But again, with the tough schedule in September and October, especially at the Rams this weekend, it's gonna get worse before it gets better for them. Chargers versus Washington. Way to finish. So many times last year, Chargers had the lead in the fourth quarter, and they blew it. Not this time. Hopefully for Chargers fans, it's a sign of things, have changed. You guys had the fourth quarter, and then you were down for a while, turning over stuff, and then you're finally able to take the lead. But then when you got the ball back, you were able to have a long, sustaining, making clutch plays, third down conversion type of drives to melt the clock out, and that's what I loved. Herbert obviously showed good things. And if you're a Chargers fan, you also like this as well. Because remember, last year, there was no fans. This time, he had to play on the road with a lot of fans, a ruckus crowd there. And then also, faced a lot of adversity, being down, turning over, and all that before it got better. For in his second year, Herbert's only going to get better. So that's something I like if I'm a Chargers fan. Now for Washington, losing Fitzmagic for at least a month or two will hurt. Like I said, Heineke's a solid backup, but you can win games with him. But an easy division, this might be the difference between Washington winning and losing this division. Jets versus Panthers. Darnold gets revenge. Sam Darnold didn't play great by any means, but he played good enough, and you can see that with a better offense, what he can do. Christian McCaffrey, man, was just so great and severely missed last year. You could definitely tell that. As far as the Jets goes, I know Zach Wilson had a bad first half. All starting rookies, QBs have their bad moments. But in the second half, he could have thrown in the towel. Let's just go to the next game. We're not doing anything good here. But no, he almost led his team to a comeback. And that's something I like to see if I'm a Jets fan. And by the way, that Jets O-line is horrible. Sacked 6 times, 6 tackle for losses. And now if left tackle Mekhi Becton hurt, this will be rough for Zach. Also, the receivers have some drops, but it'll be interesting to see how the Jets go on from here. Jaguars versus Texans. Still worst team? Question mark. So Houston, I thought was going to be the worst team this year, and they still think they're a bottom 5 team in this league, but it looks like the Jaguars still might be the worst team despite their draft and free agency and all that, based off what I saw. Browns versus Chiefs. Playoff rematch? It was a tale of two halves for sure. Browns first half dominated, and then Chiefs second half dominated, came back like we all thought they would. It was a fun game to see, and I actually hope this can be the AFC Championship matchup, or at least another divisional round matchup like it was last year. If you're both teams, even if you're the Browns who lost, you both like what you saw. Dolphins versus Patriots. Didn't get to see? Question mark. So people compare Mac Jones to Brady, even though I disagree, but that's what they compare him to. Part of that is being clutch. Now, on first and goal, we didn't get a chance to see Mac Jones score because he hands off to running back Damian Harris, and he fumbles it, and then the defense wasn't able to get the stop, so Miami ran out the clock. So we didn't get to see Mac Jones have a chance to be clutch there. So it'll be interesting to see in another close game if he's able to show that he gets to have that clutch moment like a Brady does or not. And as far as Miami goes, Tua wasn't bad per se, although that one interception was horrible. But what's interesting is that he has to be very scripted in order to have success. For example, first drive, first half, touchdown. First drive, second half, touchdown. And other than that, just a field goal throughout the rest of the game. That was, on the last drive before halftime. So it'll be interesting to see, again, with the tough September-October schedule, what happens from here. Broncos versus Giants. Clock is ticking. Daniel Jones did not look the best, so the clock is ticking for him on whether he's the franchise guy or not. To be fair, you need to see a few more games to confirm my feelings on him, but, also the Giants' O-line is bad, and Saquon Barkley only rushed for 26 yards, so that's a big problem. And the Broncos' D-line is expected brought pressure. Bridgewater clearly showed why he won the job, not only efficient, but was making plays. So good for Denver there. Packers versus Saints. Rodgers out. If you thought Rodgers was gone after this season, you look like a winner today. What's interesting was the game was in reach, but then Rodgers, instead of throwing it away like he usually does, he threw a pick, near the goal line, and then his communication led to another pick, and then it just all went down from there. The defense was bad, which is not a good sign, and the O-line was actually bad with Bakhtiari, their best tackle, out for a while, and their center, going to the Chargers. It definitely looks like a different line for sure. Now, I still think Packers should still make the playoffs, but again, not a good start there. Also, Jameis Winston has secured his job. Not only was he efficient, but he looked faster, more athletic than the past, so good for him. Maybe LASIK and weight training's paid off. Bears versus Rams, missing link. Rams offense did look a lot better with Stafford. Now, they still don't have a great rushing game right now, so that'll be a factor for them at some point down the line, but this team will be fun to watch. As for the Bears defense, that was embarrassing. I was surprised to see that from them. People say they're a top 5-10 defense. Apparently not. Only 1 sack, 0 tackle for loss. The secondary was just horrible. Also, while Dalton was not great, he still deserves to start against Cincy at home. And then if he loses against Cincy at home, then consider going to Fields at that point. So that's it for today. Please subscribe to my podcast. Tell everyone about me. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.